I didn't mean for this to be my next video. Seriously, I was fully prepared to make a video about the reveal of my new project, but something popped up and it opened a really strange rabbit hole. A few days ago, a friend of mine messaged me about a Steam key reselling site called Kinguin, or as my phone autocorrected it to, Kingpin. Oh, the irony, which listed my game for sale at half price of what it is on Steam. It's not exactly news that resellers like these tend to be on the shady side. I remember hearing devs say they'd rather have players pirate their games than buy them off of sites like G2A, but I never really understood the extent of why that is. A few days later, yet another friend told me that they found my game on a few key reseller sites, one of which was Kinguin. That friend, and well, yet another friend, thought it would be interesting to see what would happen if I were to buy one of my own keys and see where they got it from in the first place. I thought it might make for a good video, but I was a little bit unsure as I thought it could just be extremely short. It could have a simple answer, and then there you go, I just have a video that's 5 minutes long, and no one really cares because I wouldn't find any new info. But not wanting to miss out on a potentially good video idea, I decided to dive headfirst into it and see what I could find. And what I ended up finding was actually quite interesting. If you're a developer watching, you might want to stick this one out to the end to see how you can prevent this same thing from happening to you. Keep in mind, when these resellers get people's money, none of it goes to you. So the culprit then, Kinguin. Let's have a look at their website, shall we? First of all, my game is indeed on the site, and it's listed at 55% off, despite the game not currently being on sale on Steam. This immediately raises a few questions. Do they buy a key using a currency that would make it cheaper? Are they straight up fake? We'll find out later on. Their About page mentions nothing about how they're able to get these incredible discounts for games that aren't on sale, but they do mention having 17 million registered users as of November 2023. Now, think about that for just a second. That means that if every single one of these users spent only $1 on an illegitimately obtained game, that would give Kinguin $17 million in profit. Good on them, right? Let's go to the page for my game specifically, shall we? Starting off, the screenshots are all ripped from Steam, but they're all horrifically compressed and grainy? How did they even mess this up? To add insult to injury, they even have a zoom button, as if there's any detail left to see. Edition. Standard. Well, I sure hope so, considering there's no alternative. The page says my key can be activated in my country, so that's nice. They list the Swedish currency as SKR. Hang on. It could also be listed as KR officially, but I've got to say, I've lived here for over 22 years now, and I've never seen anyone write SKR. That's just really weird and kind of unprofessional. All the sellers, Cute Shop, G24, GameDoc, and Have a Fun Store all use generic names that seem ungoogleable by design. And initially I suspected them to be fake, but more on that later. As an example of being ungoogleable, googling Cute Shop brings you to a bunch of shops for cutesy things and what appear to be Squarespace templates or something of the like. G24 or G24 Games just takes you to Gran Turismo 4. Now imagine what you'd find by googling Have Fun Store. Not very helpful. It's possible that these are private sellers who don't have their own sites, but then what's the point of naming yourself Have a Fun Store or G24 if it's a person and not an actual storefront run by a group? Probably because they don't want to be traced. Purchases are made through a service called Trustly, and with a name like that, they sound about as trustworthy as a Super Nintendo or PlayStation-era Final Fantasy villain. Now, before I actually get to buying my game, let's see what that initial friend who tipped me off about the site has to say about her experience using it. I'm here talking to my friend Trixie on Discord, who has had an experience with Kinguin in the past. So, Trixie, if you would be so kind, please tell me about your experience with Kinguin.
I was gonna buy a game, Strange Horticulture, and I am a poor citizen of this country.
Yeah,
so I was gonna buy a cheap key, and I'm never doing that again. Well, basically my boyfriend has bought keys before on this website, Kinguin.
Yep.
I don't think he's ever had any trouble with it. My first time I bought it, you can see that it says Europe.
Europe, yep.
UA Steam key. Did not work. It said that it was the wrong issuing country when I was gonna use it in Steam, and I don't know why.
Yeah, no, that sounds very interesting. So, do you know how much money you spent on the game compared to what it would have been normally? Like, was it 50% off? Was it 10% off?
I believe this game on key was €8, and I think it's €15 on Steam, maybe.
Okay, so quite a discount compared to the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
And this was the chat we sent them when it didn't work, and they answered the next day with, what country do you live in? And I was like, hello, please answer me, I want the game. Please. I didn't have the key, but it took another week for the key to actually come in my inventory.
I see. Could you confirm that the key you got initially was like legitimate? It didn't say it was already claimed or something, it just said that it was for a different country. Okay, not available for purchase in this country. Your purchase has been cancelled. Okay, interesting.
And when I went into the original Steam page on this game, like if I would buy it legit, there's no saying that I can't buy it, so I don't know why it said that you can't buy it in this country.
Yep.
Let's leave a 1 star. Wow, it didn't show up.
Wow, it's crazy. Let's also see what some other people have to say on their respectfully 4-star rated Trustpilot page. Although, maybe respectfully isn't the word to use. Looking into it a little further, the reviews appear somewhat suspect, for a variety of reasons. The first verified 5-star review is listed as coming from Sweden, but the name sure sounds in Swedish. But hey, it's not impossible for someone to have a foreign name, so let's take that with a grain of salt. The second review is a 1-star review describing what appears to be a horrendous scam, as the phone service provider billed them over $40 for an order on Kinguin they never even placed. The reply from Kinguin just says they can't reply because the review isn't in English. Meanwhile, Google Translate gets it almost completely right. I scroll down a little further and find another review also claiming to have been charged through the phone service provider. The response from Kinguin actually tries to address them despite it being in Swedish, but it's the most automated non-reply I've seen in a long time. Another 1-star review claims the key they got from the website didn't work, but they don't care about getting a refund. And yet another robotic response, they give a non-reply and link the user to a customer service ticket, which they clearly weren't interested in. Remember the thing I said about the first positive review having a foreign name? While that one is easily explainable, all the other ones also have something odd about their names. Almost all of them are from Sweden, but written in English, and most of the names seem made up. Yes, I'm sure Caro67 is a username someone actually chose to use before going on Trustpilot to write one of 3 reviews on the whole account. Actually, interestingly enough, on the first 2 pages, only 1 review wasn't from Sweden. I don't know if that's because Trustpilot's picking up my location or what, but that's a little odd to me as I haven't seen it before. What is even more interesting than the verified page are the several other unverified Trustpilot pages, where the reviews seem a lot more genuine. Also, in what world does 64% 1-star reviews against 9% 2 and 3-star reviews and 18% 5-star reviews lead to a 2.5 in total? What the hell, Trustpilot? More than half a 1-star. Yeah, that does sound pretty shady. So, time to buy something using that shady service. The purchasing process was pretty straightforward, although I had to confirm my bank info a nearly suspicious amount of times, but it did at least seem legitimate, and is likely just a side effect of how banks work here. Once I had my code, I made a new Steam account and tried to add the game to my account, which actually seemed to work. I half expected not to get the game at all, but there were no issues. However, before claiming the key, I decided to use Steam's Query CD key feature to try and find where the key came from. I could see the date on which it was generated, along with the tag I'd given it, Convention. This is because last summer I went to NACON in Sweden and brought a few codes in case I'd find anyone who'd be interested in playing the game. But since I'm completely socially inept, I basically didn't say a word to a single other person the entire time, so instead of using the codes at the con, I used them as review copies. Well, now I know how to track them down. I pasted the code into my Gmail, and bingo! The code was sent to a Steam curator known as Crazy Old Man. For anyone who hasn't released a game on Steam before, it's pretty common for curators of various shapes and sizes to email the developers of said game with an attempt to get a review code. They'll usually leave their email address on the curator page so as to make it easy to confirm that it's really them. I'm not gonna lie, I did find it quite suspicious how they always seem to ask for more than 1 code, but since I hadn't done anything like this before and everyone who'd reached out seemed to ask for a handful, I just assumed this was how the process usually works, and decided not to question it. I also had no major reason to believe it was a scam since the vast majority of them actually did review the game. 1 or 2 of them used giveaways as an excuse for the numerous copies they requested, which I was also fine with, although I'd never hand out more than 2 or 3. But as it turns out, at least one of them had used the key they received for a more nefarious purpose. I sent them a formal email telling them about my investigation and asked if they had any comments. I did the same for Kinguin and didn't expect to ever hear back from them. I felt pretty done at this point. I was just kind of mindlessly scrolling around on Crazy Old Man's Steam page, which is when I spotted something on their banner. That profile picture. I've seen it before. And scrolling down to the bottom of the page showed the same one used for one of the group's administrators. Going back to my email account, I immediately knew where to look. One of the first people who'd ever requested keys for the game was a girl named Svetlana from a group called Cute Place. And she had that very same profile picture. Hang on a second. Cute place. What was the name of that shop selling the game again? This is practically some Hypnospace Outlaw stuff.
Here, try this! You are a winner!
I, of course, replied to the original email I got, asking for comment on the investigation as I'd done with everyone else. So, case closed, right? I'd sent out some review keys to some curators who turned out to be shady, and they sold those keys to Kinguin or some middleman. That's obviously a really shitty thing to do, especially from a couple curators who both have over 6,000 followers, but is that really it? Well, I thought so. Until Kinguin replied to my email the very next day. While I don't think it was a very, personalized message, I will give them some major credit for not only replying, but doing so quickly, and actually trying to help remove my game from the site, since I'd proven that at least some of the keys were of dubious nature. Maybe it was just because they were afraid of getting sued. Maybe it was because they actually care about upholding the integrity of their platform, as they claimed in their email. I don't know for sure, but they were willing to help. They asked me to fill out the blanks on some censored Steam keys in their database to prove I'm the developer, which is very easy to do. However, those keys? There's a lot more of them than the ones I sent to Crazy Old Man in Cute Place, huh? This is where the rabbit hole gets deeper. Cross-referencing the keys they gave me with my email, I found that every single one came from a different source, even people I'd only sent a single code to. Okay, let's be real. Maybe it wasn't so surprising that Cheerful Family, a group with family in the name who reviewed adult-only games from time to time, was a little bit shady, but they weren't the only ones. Crazy Old Man, Cute Place, Cheerful Family, Happy Panda Reviews, Gaming Grandma, Points of Interest, The Gaming Consultant. All of them had sold the keys I'd given to them. All of them, from my point of view, are frauds. Notice that most of them have follower numbers in the tens of thousands. It doesn't get much more blatant than this. These people are not here to give small indie titles like mine recognition, they're here to make money off of devs like myself, whose games are far from profitable to begin with. And as far as I can tell, they've been getting away with it. Have they been called out in the past and just slipped through the cracks? And if they have been called out, why hasn't Valve done anything about it? I've reached out to every single one of these curators for comment through their email addresses listed on their pages, and not a single one has replied. Developers, please be careful when sending out review codes. Don't trust these developers in particular, but don't let others fool you either just because of the numbers. They're not here to help you, they just want to make money off of your work. It doesn't matter if they have 20 followers or 20,000. They prey off of devs like us who aren't used to this kind of thing and aren't able to spot what is a scam and what is legitimate, because we just don't have the experience necessary to know. And this really sucks for everyone because it makes legitimate curators appear illegitimate. They're really just ruining the fun for everyone. Players, please don't use reseller sites like these. Not only are you not supporting the developers who poured potential years of their life into their projects, you are actively supporting and funding these scam artists who are making all of this possible, the people who are ripping off the people who deserve that money. If you've seen my last video, and judging by the numbers, I think a big chunk of you have, I made a short little segment about piracy, and how I said I didn't want my game to be pirated, but I wouldn't judge anyone for doing so. While some aspects of these reselling sites are a bit less shady than the piracy sites, please, if you want to play my game, and you don't want to or cannot support me directly, just pirate it. Don't support these absolute scam artists. That's pretty much it for me, but before I end the video, I just want to say thanks to my friends Ellie and Wyatt for suggesting I do this video in the first place, as well as to Trixie for helping me with a little interview segment. That was really nice. And for pointing out the existence of Kinguin in the first place. I wouldn't have found out if it weren't for you. This video is quite different from the videos I made in the past. You know, slightly new setup. I've got a green screen, but the lighting isn't that good, so I'm sorry if it's a little bit weird, but I'll try and sort that out in the future. I'm gonna get back to actual game dev content very soon, and my next video is going to be the reveal of my next big project this time, and that's pretty exciting. So look forward to that, and thank you for watching and all that. I hope you learned something. Support real developers. Thank you. Oh, and some of you may have thought Kinguin weren't so bad if they were willing to remove the illegitimate keys from their site. Well, they didn't remove all of them.